Hi, Orange Girl here with another scrapbooking process video for you. I am working with a file from the Cut Shop today. In fact, I am the designer challenge this month, and so I have created this layout as part of that designer challenge. And the challenge, and I've linked all that stuff below in the comments about how you can participate, is to use something that makes you think of spring. So use a cut file and create a project that makes you think of spring. I am using the Oodles of Doodles cut file, and I'm using that little sprig of leaves that looks like this. And to me, that is spring. And I'm using this photo of my daughter from last summer, where she is laying in all of this green grass, and that also makes me think of spring. And so that is what I'm going with for today. This photo, like I said, was from last summer, July of last summer, and we had gone on a little skating slash walking adventure. She was skating, we were walking, and we went to get some ice cream. And part of it, we have to skate in the road in this neighborhood, very few cars, very low speed, all of that kind of stuff. And so it's pretty safe. But as a car comes by, we're like, okay, here comes a car. You need to get over. Make sure you get over. And so she got over very dramatically. And so that's the story that I'm telling, is how she kind of does everything pretty dramatically. And so that's the story. So what I'm doing here is I have a bunch of Pink Fresh Studio that I am working with today. And this is the Everyday Musings collection. And I have the 6x6 pad and a couple of papers. I pulled out some ephemera and the alphas there that you see. And I'm going to put this together using mostly, I think maybe all this collection. So I cut out the leaves from two 6x6 papers, two different shades of green, and I just set it up in my software to cut a whole bunch of different, not different, a whole bunch of the same thing. I did flip it a couple times so that they would look like they were going kind of leaning different directions. And I did that and set it up in the software so it would do that on two different 6x6 papers. And so once I cut that, now I'm just going through the 6x6 pad and finding some layers to put behind my photo. The background paper that I'm using has a bunch of polka dots on it. It's very colorful, and it has words throughout it that say things like color me happy, everyday musings, explore, never stop, let's fly away, made for this, pause this moment, etc. And so it has a whole bunch of different things. You can't see it probably in the video here, but so I'm kind of going with all of those colors that are in that background on that dotted subtle pattern. And so I pulled from those colors to decide what to put behind my photo. And then right where I just pointed there, I wanted to use the phrase pause this moment that is already on the background paper. I wanted to use that maybe as part somehow of my title. And so I was trying to get the photograph over to the right far enough and also positioned kind of by that phrase where it says pause this moment so that I can use that maybe as part of my title. So off camera, I went ahead and I used my typewriter to type up the journaling, which is pretty, it's not that big of a deal. It just says, we went on a walk to get frozen custard. There was a car, so she got over dramatically. And that is actually pretty much exactly what was on my Instagram / Facebook post that I made to go with this picture last spring or last summer. So in addition to the sprigs that I cut out from the cut file, I grabbed a couple of sprigs that are in the collection in the ephemera pack that are gold, and I added those within. And then my idea was to use a couple of the sprigs up here on the left side and make a little cluster up there. So I was going to have kind of on the right side toward the bottom, middle bottom, the photo and a cluster, and then the top left. And I loved these little pots of plants, and I love that they match the background color so beautifully. And so I decided to grab those and use those because also they're kind of, it makes me think of spring and summer, which we could really use around these parts. I don't know what part of the world you're in right now, but in Iowa, where I am, we have had a rough winter. Lots of snow days, lots of late starts due to ice or snow, and we're kind of sick of it around here. So my title is going to be Dramatically. And because that's, I mean, you can kind of see it even in the photo. And so I use these alphas that I love that are multicolored that come in this collection, and just use uppercase and lowercase and just kind of had it go straight across. I sped that up because I was, it took me a little while to figure out how to get the spacing to work and get the colors the way that I wanted. And then as I finished that, I was like, oh, I need to move this journaling and stuff right above. And I like how that looks so much better. So now it's all vertically through, or I'm sorry, horizontally through the bottom part of, like, the bottom half of the paper. So I have my journaling right above my title. So it says, we went on a walk to get frozen custard. There was a car, so she got over dramatically. And then it says dramatically as the title. And then I grabbed a couple of little ephemera pieces that are phrase stickers that say, or there are phrases that say things like, love your happy spirit, good things grow. And I'm adding those below the photo, as well as a date. I just stamped the date on one of the little, there are little labels that come in the ephemera pack. And so I'm using that. It's a little die cut label. And so now I'm just getting ready to kind of glue some of the stuff down. So I'm speeding it up. So all I'm doing is I'm adding a little bit of that is foam adhesive. There we go. It's foam. It's just craft foam that has adhesive on one side, and then I use it a lot to pop up things. It's pretty cheap. You can get it at Michael's, and I just use that a lot of times. So I went ahead and popped up that potted plant that's over on the left. And now I decided I'm just going to glue everything to itself here. At this point, I was trying to decide if I wanted to do some machine stitching or not. And so a lot of times when I do that, I have to take off the bulkier items to fit it through. So I thought I might need to take this off the layout. I do that a lot so that I can move that as one. So I put all my layers together so I can move that as one piece. It just helps me as I'm working on the design, or if I do decide to go ahead and use my machine to stitch anything. But I am not going to do that, so I'm just going to go ahead and glue it down. I put a little bit of tangled thread behind the potted plant over there on the left, and then behind the die cuts that I made of those little sprigs, put some green there. And now what I'm doing is I found a couple of phrases, the one that I wanted to use kind of as part of my title, and I just used my black pen to make a box around it and a little bit of squiggle, and it says pause this moment. And then I did one at the top that says color me happy, and then later I do another one that says everyday musings. And so you'll see me add that in a moment. So now I'm popping up a few things. I think I'm gluing down my phrases, and I'm going to pop up the middle, maybe I already did that, the middle pot there, the yellow one, using that same foam adhesive. I popped that one up, and then I'll pop my photo up as well. So I decided it needed a little something else, and I have been using butterflies on most of my layouts as of late, especially if they have my daughter in them. And so I have this butterfly punch, and so I just punched out 3 in those same colors, yellow, kind of a coral color, and blue, and added those little pieces of extra, just kind of to each of the clusters. I really like working as on clusters. It's one of my favorite things to do. Layers and clusters, layers and clusters. And so you see a lot of that on my layouts. Um, and it's just fun to put little things in each of these clusters. So I had not cut off the branding strip yet here on the bottom, and then I kind of was thinking that I would put that coral paper behind this in some way. Okay, there is me boxing and adding a little something to the everyday musings. So now I have 3 of those, and so I cut off the top, and I was kind of going back and forth as to whether I wanted to add that green, if I wanted the bottom or the top to have the stripe on it, and I decided to go with the top. And so to do this, I'm not going to use the whole 12 by 12 paper, but I'm going to glue it down as if I'm going to use the whole 12 by 12 paper so that I use the correct amount so that it actually ends up being a 12 by 12 layout and fits in my um, album correctly. And then I'm just going to cut off the part that I don't need. And then I'm going to add a little bit more thread behind my photo. So it's kind of a little bit in front of the cut file. So it just adds a little messy factor, and I really like it. When I use the liquid adhesive, a lot of times I will go ahead and, if it's on something large like the photo, I will just go ahead and add, put something over the top of it to keep it flat for a little while. What I'm adding here is a little bit of sequins from Spiegel Mom Scraps. This actually came in a color kit, the March color kit from Shimmers Paints. They are each month they are starting something new, and they're doing these color kits. And so the color kits that they had in March, which sold out, but they have new things up now. This color kit came with some paints and some matching sequins. So here come the close-ups. There's the cut file, and those are those cute little potted plants and some of the sequins. I really like how this one turned out. I like the big title, and I like the word dramatically in a dramatic title. So I think that worked out really nicely. Thanks a lot for stopping by, and I hope you participate in the challenge this month.